All right, you guys, so this is what I've got. I've got all of my trees filled in almost all the way to my vanishing point. Once they get too tiny to see, you can stop drawing, that's fine. So after you get to this point, what you're gonna do, you're gonna take your eraser and you're going to erase your two diagonal lines. Okay, so this one's gonna come out. Remember, that's why we drew them lightly. If you drew them really, really heavy and dark, you're gonna have some erasing to do, some harder work to do. And you're gonna erase the one on the top too. But see how having those lines gave us the right size based on the perspective that we have, okay? So the next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna put in a road, and we want our road to end up having some snow on it because this is gonna be a snowy scene. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna start back at the vanishing point. You see that? But see how I've dropped down from my trees some? So we're gonna make the edge of our road right here. And I'm gonna make my other edge. Remember, everything goes to the vanishing point. That's the whole thing about 1-point perspective. Everything is going back to our vanishing point, but can you see how our road is forming here? Now, the other thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put in 2 sets of like tire tracks. So I'm gonna put in 2 marks. Again, I'm going to from my vanishing point to the edge of the page. And then I just shift it over a little bit from my vanishing point to the edge of the page. Then I'm gonna shift over and do another set of tire tracks over here. So from my vanishing point to the edge of the page, from my vanishing point to the edge of the page. And again, drawing lightly is always gonna be beneficial. So now we've got, you see how these lines, these are gonna be kind of our tire tracks. Those are gonna end up being a little bit darker and we'll keep the snowy covered parts of the road a little bit lighter. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. So get your road done, and then we're gonna talk in the next video about how to do our sky. Okay guys, let's take a minute and work on our sky. So what we're gonna do, this is gonna be a nighttime sky, and we're just gonna stick with pencil. But if you can get your pencil sharp enough, I want you to kind of use the edge, and we're gonna shade and smudge some, and some of you may wanna do this, you know, in your own way. But let me show you how we're gonna start. We're gonna keep our darkest shading down near our horizon line, okay? So we're gonna kind of come across like this, and that's about as dark as we need to go. We're not making it pitch black. This is a pencil drawing. Well, we'll go with mixed media since we're using Sharpies too. But see how I'm taking this all the way across? I've got my pencil turned on its side, and I'm coloring directly over, or shading directly over my trees. That's not gonna matter that they have pencil on top of them. This makes it a little bit easier to navigate and to get your overlap. And I just colored all over my husband's desk. Don't tell him. I'll have to clean that up later. So we're gonna shade, I'd go, I don't know, maybe an inch or so up, and then we're gonna start tapering it out. And this is where it gets a little tricky. So you have to kind of start, I like to go all the way across with that same amount of pressure if I can. But as we fade it up, and this is where if you wanna get like a tissue works the best, but if you've got, you know, you can go grab a paper towel or anything like that. We're gonna continue to color up the page lighter, and this is a challenging skill to keep that color or that shade of that pencil going up the page lighter. Again, you're gonna need your pencil sharpened so that it's got a pretty good tip on it. Can you see mine? It's gonna need to have a pretty good sharp point for this, even though we're not using the tip. Can you see how I'm using the edge? I've got my pencil almost flat against my page. And we're gonna continue to shade lightly up to the top. Ooh, see how I got too dark there? We can fix that. Or we can pretend that's a cloud. So I don't want you to panic if you start like, oh, Miss Shelton, it looks all the same color gray or all the same shade of gray. That's okay, we can fix it. So we're gonna go all the way up to the top, and that's about as light of a mark as I can get. But we're gonna take it out. Just do the best you can. And again, the important thing, guys, is that your pencil it's got to be turned on its side. You are not gonna be able to get marks that are gonna fill your page unless your pencil is on its side. And again, I did this relatively quickly. I do not want you guys moving this fast, okay? So now that I've got it kind of like this though, guys, I wanna go back down and I wanna go a little darker at the bottom, just to kind of make that pop. And this is where you can spend some time taking your shading. We want lots of variety in our dark darks all the way to our light lights. So you can go back in and darken up your darks and kind of fade it upwards. Okay, again, this is a skill that takes practice. Don't get frustrated with this, just keep at it. Again, I'm gonna say it for another time. Keep your pencil turned on its side. That will help. If you try and turn it on its tip, you are going to get extremely frustrated. Okay, so I'm gonna stop here, guys, and I'm gonna go and get a tissue. And for the next segment of our video, we're gonna work on the road and doing some blending. All right, you guys, so I grabbed some tissue. So I've got that ready. The next thing we're gonna do though, I'm gonna do a little bit more shading before I start blending. So on our road, we want our tire tracks to be the darkest part. So again, we're gonna keep that pencil on its edge as far as you can. And it's okay if it's a little outside of these lines. These are like tire tracks in the snow, so they're not gonna have perfect edges. Okay. And we kind of want the lines to disappear. We don't want those lines to be like harsh under there. Okay, so we've got the darker parts of our road. Now we're gonna take and we're just gonna kind of blend this out, fade it out, and get a little bit of pencil down in the rest of the road part so that it stands out from the white snow over here beside it, okay? It's okay if it's a little bit sketchy, because we are going to go back in and soften this up. But what you want to make sure happens is that your tire tracks and your road are not the same color of gray. Okay, if you're getting the same color of gray, you need to use more pressure on your dark areas and lighten up a little on your lighter areas. And I'm even going to go back and put a little more dark in right in here. See how I darken those up? I'm just pressing harder, guys. That's all you gotta do. And again, it's not an exact science. You figure out what works for you. Okay, so we've got our road shaded. Again, I'm still not messing with my tissue yet. I've got one other thing. We wanna put some shadows in behind our trees. And this is not a difficult thing, but we want our shadows to go this way because we're gonna end up making a moon over here. So we're gonna have some shadows that pull this way. So for every tree, see how I'm coming straight back towards the side of the page? And it's darker, a little closer to the bottom, and I kind of pull it out as it goes to the top. And I can come back and make some darker marks in there. See how I'm darkening up the bases and leaving the tops kind of still fuzzy. Okay, and you can add it, like you can go back in and if you need more shadows, if you want more shadows, however you want to do that. But see how nicely that came together? Okay, so now let's, in this same video segment, let's do a little bit of blending. I think I'm pretty pleased with how my sky looks, so I may just do a little smudging on my road. Again, and you're just working with a pencil, guys. So it's not gonna be like working with charcoal or anything. We just want to soften some of these lines up. So I'm going with the snowy part of the road, and I'm gonna be careful because what I don't want to do is get this off in the white fresh snow parts, the parts that I want to look like fresh snow. I want to try and keep the road separate from that, but I can kind of smudge that edge in so that it doesn't look so that those lines don't look so rough. See how that came out? And I still could probably go back in and add some lighter spots in my road and some darker spots, but I'll leave that up to you. Last thing I'm gonna do to finish the drawing portion off, I'm gonna take my eraser and I'm gonna erase a circle over here for the moon. So I'm gonna start kind of light until I get it how I want it. And then I'm just gonna erase that out, okay? As good as I can. Now, it's gonna be important not to take it and brush it. So just blow on it. Don't get it all over your neighbor. Well, you're too far from your neighbor to do that. But that gets most of it out, guys, so that you've got a little bit of a white moon showing over here. Now, if you want to go back in and give yourself a little bit more structure to your moon, you absolutely can. If it, give it a little more shape, just a little bit. Doesn't have to have a lot. Okay, see how that came together like that? Now, once you get to this point, guys, I want you to stop. However, if you want to go back, if you want to do some more blending in your sky, just like we did on the road, you can absolutely do that. I want you to be careful to not smudge over in this space or back behind your trees, because we really want to keep that in that fresh white snow. What we're going to do when I'm back with you guys next week, we are going to add some snow on top of this with some white tempera paint. We're going to add some snow dots so that it looks like snow falling at night. And that's how we're going to finish. So see if you can get your drawing part finished today. If you can't, that's okay. Get as far as you can and go back and rewatch different parts if you need to. And we should be good to go for next week, guys. Can't wait to see your creations.